In 1789, King Frederick of Prussia is claimed to have said, "The only, absolute and best friend that a man has, in this selfish world, the only one that will not betray or deny him, is his dog." That gave birth to the term, "A dog is a man's best friend." Dogs are still man's best friend. This video is about 6 of these best friends, who made their mark in human world and are very, very famous. Laika was a Soviet space dog who became one of the first animals in space, and the first animal to orbit the Earth. Laika was found as a stray dog, wandering the streets of Moscow. Soviet scientists chose to use Moscow strays since they assumed that such animals had already learned to endure conditions of extreme cold and hunger. After giving the stray dog many names initially, finally they stuck to Laika, which means the barker, because she barked very loudly. Though Laika's true pedigree is unknown, it is generally accepted that she was part husky or other Nordic breed, and possibly part terrier. Before the launch, one of the mission scientists took Laika home to play with his children. She was destined to become a sacrifice to science on a one-way mission to space. Laika was placed in the capsule of the Soviet spacecraft Sputnik 2, 3 days before the mission, which was launched into low orbit on the 3rd of November 1957. Laika had died by the 4th circuit of flight from overheating. In 1925, the remote township of Nome in Alaska, home to more than 10,000 people, was threatened by a deadly outbreak of diphtheria. The nearest location, where the authorities could take the serum to save the lives by rail, was located 674 miles from Nome. The only way to deliver the first batch of 300,240 units of diphtheria serum in time was to use sled dog teams. A relay of 20 teams was assembled, which included Alaska's legendary musher, Leonhard Seppala. Then termed as the Great Race of Mercy, was completed in just 5 days. Then 12-year-old Siberian Husky lead dog, Togo, who traversed an astounding 264 miles, became hero of the Great Race. In 2011, Time magazine named Togo the most heroic animal of all time. A film adaptation about Togo's efforts was produced by Walt Disney Pictures and released on December 20, 2019. Hachik, a Japanese Akita dog, was born on November 10, 1923, at a farm near the city of Date, Akita Prefecture. In 1924, Hitsubo Ueno, a professor at the Tokyo Imperial University, brought him to live in Shibuya, Tokyo, as his pet. Hachik would meet Ueno at Shibuya Station every day, after his commute home. This continued until May 21, 1925, when Ueno died of a cerebral hemorrhage while at work. From then, until his death on March 8, 1935, Hachik would return to Shibuya Station every day, to await Ueno's return. Each day, for the next 9 years, 9 months, and 15 days, Hachik awaited Ueno's return, appearing precisely when the train was due at the station. Hachik became a national sensation. His faithfulness to his master's memory impressed the people of Japan as a spirit of family loyalty, to which all should strive to achieve. Hachik died on March 8, 1935, at the age of 11. He was found on a street in Shibuya. Hachiko was buried beside his beloved master, Professor Ueno. Hachiko's statues were erected at many places in Japan. Each year on March 8, Hachik's devotion is honored with a solemn ceremony of remembrance at Shibuya Station. Hundreds of dog lovers often turn out to honor his memory and loyalty. Hachik was the subject of the 1987 Japanese film, Hachik Monogatari, which means, The Tale of Hachik, and 2009 Hollywood movie Hachik, A Dog's Tale. Rin Tin Tin was a male German Shepherd, born in Fleury, France, who became an international star in motion pictures. He was rescued from a World War I battlefield by an American soldier, Lee Duncan, who nicknamed him Rinty. Duncan trained Rin Tin Tin, and obtained silent film work for the dog. Rin Tin Tin was an immediate box office success, and went on to appear in 27 Hollywood films, gaining worldwide fame. The immense profitability of his films contributed to the success of Warner Brothers Studios. Rin Tin Tin was nicknamed the Mortgage Lifter, and the dog who saved Hollywood, as a result. He reportedly received 50,000 fan letters every month, and more votes than the Best Actor nominee for the Oscars. Nipper was a dog from Bristol in England, who served as the model for 1898 painting by Francis Barreau, titled His Master's Voice. This image became one of the world's best-known trademarks, the famous dog and gramophone that was used by several record companies, and their associated company brands. He was named Nipper because he would often nip at the backs of visitors' legs. Nipper originally lived with his owner, Mark Henry Barreau, in the Prince's Theatre where Barreau was a scenery designer. When Barreau died in 1887, his brothers Philip and Francis took care of the dog, then Francis took Nipper to Liverpool, and later to Mark's widow in Kingston-upon-Thames near Surrey. Nipper died of natural causes in 1895, and was buried in Kingston-upon-Thames at Clarence Street, in a small park surrounded by magnolia trees. As time progressed, the area was built upon, and a branch of Lloyd's Bank now occupies the site. On the wall of the bank, just inside the entrance, a brass plaque commemorates the terrier that lies beneath the building. In 1898, 3 years after Nipper's death, Francis Barreau, his last owner, and brother of his first owner, painted a picture of Nipper listening intently to an electric Edison Bell cylinder phonograph. Assuming the Edison Bell Company located in New Jersey in USA might find it useful, he offered it to James Huff, who promptly replied, "Dogs don't listen to phonographs." On the 31st of May 1899, Barreau went to the Maiden Lane offices of the Gramophone Company to inquire about borrowing a brass horn to replace the original black horn in order to brighten up the painting. When Gramophone Company founder and manager, William Barry Owen, was shown the painting, he suggested that, if the artist painted out the cylinder machine and replaced it with a Berliner disc gramophone, he would buy the painting. Barreau obliged, and the image soon became the successful trademark of the Victor and Gramophone Company Limited, and eventually the Radio Corporation of America. After the acquisition of the Victor Company in 1929, Electric and Musical Industries Limited in 1931, and HMV. Emil Berliner registered the trademark for use in the United States on the 10th of July 1900. Bobby the Wonder Dog earned his fame after covering 4,105 kilometers on his own to return home to Silverton, Oregon, United States, after he was lost while his owners were visiting family in Walcott, Indiana. In August 1923, Frank and Elizabeth Brazier, with their daughters Leona and Nova, were visiting relatives in Walcott, Indiana. Their 2-year-old Scotch collie, English Shepherd mixed dog Bobby, was attacked by 3 other dogs and ran away. After an exhaustive search, the heartbroken Brazier family were unable to find Bobby and continued their trip before returning home to Oregon, expecting never to see their dog again. In February 1924, 6 months later, Bobby returned to Silverton mangy, dirty, and scrawny, with his toenails worn down to nothing. He showed all the signs of having walked the entire distance, including swimming rivers and crossing the Continental Divide during the coldest part of winter. Bobby played himself in the 1924 silent film, The Call of the West. People who had fed and sheltered Bobby on his journey wrote the family to tell about their time with Bobby. The Humane Society of Portland was able to use these stories to assemble a relatively precise description of the route Bobby took. Upon his death in 1927, he was buried with honors at the Oregon Humane Society's Pet Cemetery in Portland. A week later, German Shepherd film star Rin Tin Tin laid a wreath at his grave. Here ends this video. For more such interesting videos, subscribe to our channel.